So today we're going to be talking about contour. If you don't know what contour line is, it's just a line that describes the edges of a form. So not just a silhouette, but every place that one plane and another meet. This is what I'm looking at today. I have my skull set up with a light on it. One thing that you need to do when you set up your still lives, choose an interesting angle, right? If you just make it symmetrical, that's kind of boring, right? That looks like the Jolly Roger skull we see on a pirate ship, and that iconography, that symbolism that we're used to seeing of the frontal skull can lead us to make a really bad drawing or to make a cartoon instead of a life drawing. So choose something asymmetrical, right? You can flip the skull upside down, you can take the jaw off, you can make it crooked, you can draw the underneath part of the skull. Choose something asymmetrical. Okay, so when you guys are at your easel, whether you're sitting or standing, make sure your dominant hand, the one that you draw with, is going to be on the opposite side of you than what you're drawing. The object I'm about to draw is over here to my left. I wouldn't want to have my easel turned around and look over my shoulder to draw. So I'm going to keep my drawing hand on the other side of me so I don't have to look over my shoulder. Also, make sure your paper, if you do have an easel, which is in your supply list, make sure your easel's not blocking you from what you're drawing, right? We don't want it to be like a shield that you have to constantly look over and peek over, because the more you move your head, the harder it's going to be to draw that object from one angle, right? Makes sense? So learning how to draw is a lot more about learning how to see than anything else. So today we're gonna highlight sight. Ironically, what we're gonna do is called a blind contour drawing. How does that make sense? Okay, so a blind contour drawing is when you look at what you are drawing, but you do not look at your paper or your pencil at any point throughout the drawing. Now, I know you might be saying to yourself, how am I going to make a good drawing if I can't even see what I'm doing, right? I think a lot of the time in like really good like sci-fi or like kung fu movies that you watch, there's always like a student and a teacher, and the student is always kind of given this mundane task. Say the student wants to learn karate and they go to the sensei, and the sensei is like, okay, you have to deliver milk up a mountain for a month every day, waking up at 5 a.m. And the student's like, why do I have to deliver milk to learn kung fu? And it doesn't seem like it makes any sense, but later they're like, oh, this was teaching me kung fu the whole time. So what we're going to do today is kind of like that. We're going to kind of let go of any preconceived notions of drawing. We're going to get all the fear of making a bad drawing out, and we're going to do a blind contour drawing. The reason to do a blind contour drawing is to introduce you to the fact that the process of drawing is more important than the product. What do I mean by that? The act of drawing the verb, is more important than drawing the noun. If you get good at the process and you fall in love with the process, you're going to go far. If you're just doctoring up little decorative drawings and you care so much about the product, you're not going to really go far, I promise. We're going to stare at the object that we're going to draw, in my case the skull that I showed you. I am going to point at an area I see clearly on the skull. anywhere on the skull, just a point you can see really clearly. This is the only time I'm going to look at my paper. I'm just going to place my pencil on the page. I'm not going to lean my hand on the page. I'm going to kind of use my pinky as a little kickstand, right? I'm going to point at an area I see clearly on this skull, and I'm going to follow the contours that I see without looking at my paper, without caring if I'm making a really good drawing or not. Calming down, breathing, paying much more attention to seeing than anything else. I'm kind of tracing what I'm seeing with my non-dominant hand, and every time this hand moves, that hand moves. I'm kind of squinting with one eye, concentrating as much as I can. And yet again, I do not care if what I'm doing on the page matches what I'm seeing. I'm practicing concentrating, right? At any point in time that you feel the urge to stare at your paper, just close your eyes for a second. Fight the fear of making a bad drawing. Start again. Don't pick your pencil up off the page. Just keep going. We might do this for, let's say, 5 minutes. So when you're doing this at home, you might want to set up a little timer on your phone. Just practice this for about 5 minutes. Okay? For the sake of time, I'll pick up. Now that doesn't look like much, but after 5 minutes, you're going to get this strange abstracted skull. But what's on your paper is not what matters at this point. What matters is now you kind of know the speed of contour line. This is a very slow process, so really fight that urge to kind of zoom around your page and just get it done. It doesn't matter what it looks like anyway. Fight that feeling. Get really good at concentrating at what you're looking at, right? When drawings are good, I can share in the act of looking with you, okay? So really get used to the sensation of slowing down and caring about every little meticulous bit of detail. You can go inside the skull, outside the skull. Remember, contour is not just silhouette. It's inside as well. So you can even imagine a little ant kind of crawling around the contours of the skull, and only draw at the speed and the dexterity at which that ant could travel throughout the form. You don't want to rush, you don't want to sketch, right? If you do this back and forth hand motion, it's almost like a physical stutter in drawing. We're going to get all of that out of there. We're not trying to fine tune anything yet. You're going to hold your pencil like you're throwing a dart, right? With that little pinky kickstand. You're going to concentrate and go around the page. Doesn't matter what it looks like. You can, 5 minutes here, do another one, 5 minutes, do another one, 5 minutes. As many as it takes to get used to the act of concentrating.